It's potentially India's biggest ever tapping scandal. Tapped conversations on tape that blow the cover like never before of the breathtaking nexus between corporates, the government, parliament and India's richest tycoons. Here's a report.
Did a corporate giant spy on India's VVIPs? Where phones of bigger netas, businessmen and senior bureaucrats tapped. A Delhi-based Supreme Court lawyer has complained to Prime Minister alleging that the Essar group tapped the phones of some of India's biggest corporates and politicians. The prominent netas who figure in the alleged phone tapping list are former telecom minister and BJP leader Pramod Mahajan, Samajwadi Party leader Amar Singh, Defence Minister during NDA regime Jaswant Singh, BJP's Lok Sabha MP Kirit Somaiya and former Aviation Minister and NCP leader Praful Patel.
These conversations, if are gone into and investigated, they would unravel and unearth a lot of crucial evidence which could be critical in terms of investigation into key decisions of certain governments.
The list of businessmen who were allegedly snooped upon includes Reliance India Limited chairperson Mukesh Ambani, chairman of the Anil Dhirubhai Ambani Group Anil Ambani, his wife Tina, ADAG's group managing director Amitabh Jhunjhunwala, Mukesh Ambani's closest aide Manoj Modi, Anil Dhirubhai Ambani Group's group president Tony J. Sudasan, former CEO and MD of ICICI Bank KV Kamath, former chairman of IDBI Bank PP Vora, and Sahara chief Subroto Roy. The list also includes former top bureaucrats like Brajesh Mishra, former National Security Advisor and Principal Secretary to Atal Bihari Vajpayee, former Revenue Secretary N.K. Singh and Home Secretary Rajiv Maharishi.
What could appear to me could be relevant from the point of view of telecom scams. The way there has been nexus of corporates with the government and the way certain decisions have been taken right from parliament to the executive.
Suren Uppal claims that he has more than 25 hours worth, 200 damning conversations between VVIPs. Most conversations are recorded between 2001 and 2006, largely during the time Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister. Uppal alleges that the taping was carried out by Al-Basit Khan, a former head of personal security for Essar Group at the behest of the company. The intercepts allegedly reveal how big corporates allegedly managed the bureaucrats, parliament and bankers, and raise disturbing questions about the reach and power of top corporate houses, their ability to influence government policy and influence budget decisions. The allegations are sensational. The big question is, will Prime Minister Modi order a probe? With Rahul Kawal in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, without a shadow of doubt, this is India's biggest tapping scandal. By the sheer weight of those apparently on the Essar tapes, this is easily the mother lode when it comes to corporate wheeling dealing at levels only rumoured to exist earlier. Now, as expected, the Essar tapes have sparked a massive political fight, with the rivals of the BJP roaring now for an investigation.
India's biggest tapping scandal, laying totally bare the brazen nexus between money and power, between India's richest and India's top offices, revealing the apparently direct connection between the wielders of influence and decisions that influence the entire country. From political appointments to mega business deals, from telecom policy to multi-billion-dollar economics, from corporate espionage to the most brazen wheeling dealing. These tapes purportedly shine the light on precisely how our nation really works. Taped during the first NDA government, the BJP has been quick to distance itself and question the authenticity of the tapes.
We have to have faith that let our system and our intelligence agencies first debate whether this is authentic or not, or whether this is put together.
But with the 29-page complaint now on Prime Minister Modi's table, a massive political fight has broken out, with the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party going for the kill and demanding a full investigation.
Investigation should have begun by now, not by any investigating agencies, but under the supervision, the monitoring of the Supreme Court.
Prime Minister should have by now instituted a very impartial and a highly respected Supreme Court judge.
Given the names on the list and those allegedly caught on tape, the big question is, will the government get to the bottom of it? Or like India's earlier tapping scandals, will things simply remain in the realm of political rhetoric and heat? Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, these alarming conversations aren't just floating around but are now on the Prime Minister's table. Tapes that really shine the sharpest light ever on the terrifying wheels within wheels that run the Indian as we know it. But how were these phones tapped and conversations recorded? Here's a report.
How were these top businessmen and politicians allegedly snooped upon? How were their phones allegedly tapped? The alleged tapping was done in Delhi and Mumbai through BPL and Hutch servers. And it was cell-to-cell interception method that was allegedly used to snoop on top VVIPs. The interception was allegedly done through prepaid interceptor mobile SIM cards.
There is a machine. It is available. One can get it from outside. On that machine, you can just put the number and you can intercept. You can record the whole conversation of that mobile phone.
The complainant Suren Uppal claims that it was Al-Basit Khan who carried out the phone tappings. Any interception by a private person is completely illegal. Indian laws permits agencies to intercept only in case of public emergency. And only CBI, IB, RAW, ED, National Technical Research Organization, Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, Narcotics Control Bureau, Income Tax and State Police are authorized to tap phones.
They all have to get permission from the Home Ministry. Only a few organizations which are either police or central police organizations.
But they also have to take permission, sir.
They also have to take permission, but there are certain Act says and certain emergency cases.
With Rahul Kaval in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, these particular taped conversations have brought up also some unanswered questions, and we've brought together 7 questions that really bring this entire controversy together. Number 1, why did the original whistleblower Al-Basit Khan suddenly turn hostile? Remember, he was the one who allegedly tapped the phones. In April of 2016, he suddenly turned completely hostile. The next question, was Basit Khan managed by Essar as alleged by lawyer Suren Uppal, who is the one who's written to the Prime Minister, who's written to the PMO along with all these tapes? Thirdly, why is Basit Khan suddenly springing the theory of tapes being received from the Mumbai police? Was this something that he'd mentioned earlier or not, is something that definitely has to be scrutinized. And next, of course, why did Basit Khan never mention to Uppal that the recording was originally done by the Mumbai police? When he approached Uppal, he said that it was done at the behest of Essar, that he was hired by them. He turned hostile as well, which is why these questions are key. Next, is it right to really rake up the name of a brave Mumbai police encounter specialist who died fighting terrorists in the 26/11 attack? His name has been brought up. There, of course, needs to be a detailed probe to see whether really he has any sort of role to play. The 6th question that we're putting out is, regardless of who recorded these tapes, is it not important to investigate the veracity of intercepted conversations? And here, the onus will fall on the government. Lastly, should Modi government not order a CBI probe to establish the authenticity of these tape recordings? It all comes down to that question really of whether the government will act. Joining us now is managing editor of TV Today Network, Rahul Kaval. Good morning, Rahul. Now, these revelations that we've put together, it once again really re-establishes that nexus that we've been talking about of the government, and we're talking about the highest echelons of the government here along with the corporates. And really, if these particular tapes are authenticated, if found to be true, this could be bigger than the Radia tapes.
Absolutely, actually. No one's quite certain of what we're talking about here, because we've got a very murky situation where the original whistleblower who went and met Supreme Court advocate Suren Uppal now says he's not a whistleblower at all. The tapes which were originally recorded by Essar Group allegedly, now the man who was in charge of the recording says that they weren't recorded by Essar at all. He's brought to the fore an encounter specialist of the Mumbai police, a man who is no longer with us, a very brave officer, Vijay Salaskar, who died in the 26/11 attack. So now there is absolutely no way of verifying whether or not these interceptions were actually done by the Mumbai police or whether they were done by the Essar Group, whether they were done by Al-Basit Khan on behalf of the Essar Group. So this is very, very murky. The whistleblower is no longer a whistleblower. He is writing to Suren Uppal saying that you are trying to extort money from Essar. Now that's a charge that the corporate is levying again and again, that this person sent a legal notice in March 2016, almost 3 months before putting out this story, giving it to the Prime Minister's office and then handing out the tapes to the media. So essentially, you've got a very, very murky situation which keeps getting murkier with every new development. What is required, and in those questions that you just read out to our viewers this morning, what is required really is for the Prime Minister's office to order a thorough probe. We don't know whether the voices are of the people whose voices these are supposed to be, whether they're having the conversations they are alleged to have had. But if those conversations are true, and if the voices are of the people that they're supposed to be, then this really throws up the dirtiest secret of the way India is run, the manner in which everything is managed, how decisions are controlled, how appointments are controlled, how corporates know in advance what parliamentary committees are going to do, what's going to appear in the budget. And this is very, very alarming. It's alarming because it shows the rot that's sunk into our governance mechanism and the rot that needs to be cleansed. And the man to do it is Narendra Modi. The onus is on him to order a probe. The difficulty from the BJP's perspective is that most of these states, actually, go back from 2001 to 2004, when the NDA-1 government was in power. So a lot of the people who were at the helm then, whether it's Brajesh Mishra, whether it's Ranjan Bhattacharya, whether it's Pramod Mahajan, whether it's an N.K. Singh, and several of the others are in different ways linked to the government, linked to the BJP. Now, would the government be willing to investigate despite that? That's the promise the Prime Minister made. Now, the question is whether he'll be able to live up to that promise.
Absolutely. It all comes down to him as well as his government. Thanks, Rahul, for joining us with those details. Some very powerful names. In fact, India's possibly biggest names politically as well as in the business sector. All of them being mentioned in these tapes. At this point, the tapes have been sent across to the PMO. The onus is on the Prime Minister to see if he will order a detailed probe into the same. Shifting focus now, as Arvind Kejriwal faces flack for the appointment of 21 parliamentary secretaries in the Delhi Assembly, it's now emerged that Kejriwal completely ignored the advice of the then Principal Secretary of Law, wherein he advised the Delhi government to take the proper route for the bill. The then Principal Secretary of Law, Kairana, had advised the UP government to take consent from the centre as well as the LG's office before tabling it in the Assembly. The bill in the current form was passed by the Kejriwal-led cabinet on 23rd June, despite the objections made by the Law Department as well as the then Principal Secretary. Remember, President Pranab Mukherjee has withheld the assent to the bill passed by the Delhi Assembly that proposed to exempt the post of Parliamentary Secretary from the purview of the Office of Profit with retrospective effect. The row has escalated ever since, and the MLAs also face the prospect of disqualification. It's only going from bad to worse at this point for UP. Anindya Banerjee now joins us over the phone lines with more detail. Anindya, this issue is clearly snowballing for the UP. It's becoming very, very bad news because it's now come to light that all advice that was sent across by the Principal Secretary, Kiran Nath, she was completely ignored and bypassed by the Kejriwal government.
Well, absolutely, Akshita. This has been a problem with the Kejriwal government because there has been some tussle going on or the other with the bureaucrats, and this time it's a very sensitive issue which needed a nod from the top law officer of the Delhi government, the Principal Secretary Law, R. Kiran Nath, and when she very categorically noted in that file saying that such a bill cannot be given a nod until and unless it's gone through the LG's office or the central government, or and particularly so because it's retrospectively implemented. But she was completely ignored, and the cabinet went ahead and approved that bill, so much so that she was so upset that she asked to be moved back to her own parent cadre, and that happened when she was replaced by one Mr. Sethi, who replaced her as a principal secretary law. So it definitely reflects very poorly on the kind of governance that is going on, particularly in the national capital.
Absolutely, Anindya. Thanks for joining us with those details. We'll have to wait and watch to see how the AAP responds to this latest revelation that the Principal Secretary had advised the government to take this forward with the centre as well as the LG to keep them involved. Kejriwal government ignored that advice and went ahead and put it in the Delhi Assembly. Now, in as facts on the ground, junked BJP's claim of a mass Hindu exodus in Kairana, the party demanded a CBI probe into the issue yesterday. BJP MLA Sangeet Som, who's also an accused, remember, in the Muzaffarnagar riots, issued an ultimatum of sorts to the state government, demanding that those who migrated be brought back within 20 days. Now, hardening its stance, the BJP said that the CBI should also probe the complaints of similar migration in other parts of the state. The parties also submitted a probe report to UP Governor Ram Naik. Suresh Khanna, remember, the BJP legislator who had led a probe team in Kairana, has said in his report that the situation on the ground was much worse than depicted by MP Hukum Singh's figures. The Samajwadi Party on its part has rubbished all claims of a religion-based exodus in Kairana. Shivpal Yadav, lashing out at the BJP government, targeted Prime Minister Modi, asking him to first bring back all those who migrated from Gujarat after the riots in 2002.